It's been one of the longest campaigns in Canadian history, a marathon of politics and passion. Now it comes down to this. Live from CBC News Election Headquarters, Chief Correspondent Peter Mansbridge and the CBC News team. The results, the analysis, and the reaction from across the country. Now, with the polls about to close in Quebec, in Ontario, in Manitoba, in Saskatchewan, in Alberta, in Nunavut, and the Northwest Territories. Special coverage of Election Night 2015 continues. This is Canada Votes on CBC.
From our election night headquarters in downtown Toronto, we're in fact in the Barbara Frum atrium of the CBC Broadcasting Centre in downtown Toronto. Look down, look way down, and that's where we are. That's our election night set here for tonight, and what a story that is unfolding. I'm Peter Mansbridge. So far, the story tonight is a massive red wave in the Atlantic provinces. A clean sweep so far. Liberals leading or elected in all 32 ridings in Atlantic Canada, plus the one in Quebec that's on Atlantic Canada time. Will that momentum continue? Is this race about to get a lot tighter or turn altogether? We're about to find out, because millions and millions of votes will now be counted in 262 of this country's 338 ridings. Those ridings stretch all the way, as you just saw, from Quebec to Alberta and include 2 of the territories. So we may soon know which leader has led his party to victory and whether it's a minority or majority federal government. Welcome to the Barbara Frum atrium, as we said. We're looking forward to telling you this story over the next couple of hours. It's really just the next couple of minutes that will make the decision on whether or not we're heading to one particular party or another in terms of government. Now, let's have a look at these pictures that have just come into us. The happiest man in Canada at the moment, Justin Trudeau with his family. That's his wife, Sophie, and the 3 kids. They were watching the results coming out of Atlantic Canada. Let the cameras sneak in there for a few moments to give us a sense of what's happening inside the Trudeau suite at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. I'm assuming that's where he is in downtown Montreal, because that's where the party will be either celebrating or saying, what happened? We did so well in Atlantic Canada. What's happened here? Yes, that is Margaret Trudeau, the former wife of the late Pierre Trudeau, who was Prime Minister, of course, from 1968 to 1984, with one exception in 1979, when he was defeated in the federal election that year by Joe Clark. So the Trudeau family watching results coming in Montreal. That we are looking at a very interesting evening for the Liberals. So interesting, in fact, that we now have a confidence to tell you this right now. Based on the early returns that we are looking at, we can tell you that the next Prime Minister of Canada will be Justin Trudeau. We are forecasting at this moment now a Liberal government based on the returns we have seen. We are not making a determination here as yet as to whether that will be a minority government or a majority government. But what we have seen, you remember earlier tonight, we had David Common in the decision desk area making the determination on exactly how that works. The decision desk. So you have a sense here that people looked at the numbers that were coming in, the patterns that were coming in specific ridings, and we are now confident in making this call that the Liberals will form the next government in Canada. Justin Trudeau becomes the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada. This is still early. The BC votes are still being made in British Columbia. They are still casting ballots there. They won't be closing the polls there for another 20 minutes. But at this point, we've seen enough to say the Liberals will form a government, still not sure majority or minority. Susan Ormiston is the Liberal Party headquarters in Montreal. They must be pretty happy there, Susan.
Well, the noise level just went up several decibels, Peter, when you made that announcement. This room is starting to fill up, and I'm telling you, they'll be rushing over here to the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal very shortly. When those results went up on that screen, there was a big cheer. You can hear them cheering still. We just saw Justin Trudeau and his family upstairs in a room watching the results, watching CBC's prediction that Justin Trudeau will in fact be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And I can tell you, Peter, from the last weekend, across this country, we were seeing that kind of enthusiasm, this building momentum in the last days of his campaign that led him to this moment, Peter.
All right, Susan, look, we're going to obviously be back and forth with you over the next little while, and we'll wait, obviously, to be hearing later on tonight to hear what Justin Trudeau has to say about all this when he comes down and speaks to his supporters. Susan Ormiston reporting to us from Montreal. So let's go over this once more. Justin Trudeau becomes the next Prime Minister of Canada. He will be the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada when he takes office. That's usually about 10 days to 2 weeks between the election and the swearing in of a new government. This is what's happened so far, and this is one of the reasons we are confident in the call that we are making. The Liberal vote that's being counted so far is, and keep in mind, this is way overweighted on the Atlantic side, but still more than 20, almost 30,000 votes now counted between Ontario and Quebec alone. But the Liberals closing in are just below the 60% figure. That is almost 40% higher than they were 4 years ago. Remember, they were below 20% in 2011. The Conservatives are down 20 points. They are under 20%. Now, big areas of Conservative vote still yet to be counted. That number is bound to come up, but we are confident that it's not going to come up anywhere near enough to threaten the forecast of a Liberal government. The NDP down there at 18%, a lot of NDP vote also still to be counted, especially in British Columbia. Here's another fact to keep in mind when you break it down by province. As we said, heavily weighted that big number, the 60% number in Atlantic Canada, but in both Quebec and Ontario, where so many seats are at stake, 60% of the seats in the country, the Liberals are polling at 40% in both those provinces, or 39, 38% in that range in both those two provinces with the votes counted so far. A very strong figure for the Liberals in both Ontario.